Hello and welcome to this edition of Arlington Public News. I'm Paul Werlin.
And I'm Brenda Mahoney, in for Michelle Marino.
At Arlington Public News, we bring you stories of interest to Arlington and surrounding communities. In tonight's newscast, we hear about Arlington's latest crime statistics, we discuss democracy in the media, and we talk to a pair of award-winning teachers at the Addison Middle School.
Plus, more ideas for things to do in town after dark. That and more up next. Stay with us.
Serious crime is down in Arlington. Major crimes have dropped 25% over last year, according to a report released by the Arlington Police Department. The report shows significant decreases in many illegal acts, including burglaries, which are down 53% from 2014. The APD says it is proud of the results, but will continue to focus on crime prevention in the community by working closely with neighborhood groups. For more information about the report, visit the Town of Arlington website.
It's been a very busy couple of weeks at the Boston Marathon trial as a jury moves closer to being impaneled. Here with an update on the proceedings both inside and beyond the courtroom is APN's own on-site reporter, news intern Jamie Maffio.
There has certainly been a lot happening at the Boston Marathon trial. The defense team has continued to push for a change of venue, arguing that it is not possible for Johar Tsarnaev to receive a fair trial in the area of Boston. Their motions have been repeatedly rebuffed. The voir dire phase of the jury selection process, in which prospective jurors are questioned to assess their ability to remain impartial, has finally reached a conclusion, with 70 qualified jurors left at this time. After the next phase, in which both the prosecution and the defense may exercise a certain number of preemptory challenges to eliminate potential jurors without needing to provide a rationale, 18 will remain. Only a couple of days are slated for this process, with the trial scheduled to begin with opening statements in the first week of March. Recent weeks have also seen a flurry of motions submitted by the defense, along with vigorous responses from the prosecution. Tsarnaev's team has motioned to suppress evidence of different sorts, including the defendant's own statements made in the hospital shortly after his arrest. They argue that the circumstances under which he was questioned indicate that his responses were not sufficiently voluntary as to be admissible. Additionally, the defense seeks to suppress the electronic files and data gathered from Tsarnaev's laptop. They argue that the search warrant under which the police operated in seizing this data failed to establish probable cause, and in so doing violated the defendant's rights under the Fourth Amendment. The judicial responses to these motions and the counter-motions filed by the state are still pending. Stay up to date on these and other developments at news.acmi.tv. For Arlington Public News, I'm Jamie Maffio.
It really is a privilege for APN to have a local presence inside the courtroom for giving us that local coverage for an internationally followed trial.
That's right, and the trial is estimated to go all the way through June, and we'll be there, so stay tuned to APN for continued coverage throughout the trial. Media messages in our culture are everywhere. They function as a means of entertainment, yet are also a platform for profit. The recent Super Bowl broadcast is but one example of that. News producer Peter Bermudez sat down with communication professor Victor Picard from the University of Pennsylvania to talk about the history of media reformation and the importance of media democracy.
While our media is responsible on one hand for informing, agitating, entertaining, and inspiring us, it has also become a tool by which merchandise is sold, data is collected, and money is made. Are these two goals mutually exclusive, or can we effectively regulate them so both can be served? Helping me navigate these questions today is Victor Picard, assistant professor at the Annenberg School for Communication at the University of Pennsylvania. He is also, most recently, the author of America's Battle for Media Democracy, The Triumph of Corporate Libertarianism and the Future of Media Reform. Welcome, Professor Picard.
Thank you for having me on the show, Peter.
In your book, you contend that the 1940s, from a media perspective, happened to look a lot like the 2010s.
You had people who were very upset about the nonstop advertising on the air. They used terms of derision, like they called them plug uglies and singing jingles. They were very concerned about what was happening to their programming, nonstop soap operas during the day. So I think a number of these indictments against commercial radio were crystallizing into a full-fledged media reform movement in the 1940s.
Let's take a look outside of our own country. because most other advanced democracies deal with the challenge of building a responsive media by removing much of the profit-making motive. What does the research actually show about when governments help subsidize the media for a country?
A lot of Americans, when they hear media subsidy, those two words in the same sentence, they fall into a fetal position. But in many countries, as you know, this is not a controversial idea. Many media systems are publicly subsidized. The BBC's always trotted out, but most leading democracies have very strong public media systems. At the very least, they're finding that publicly subsidized media institutions do not tend to be more subservient to those in power. If anything, they tend to be more autonomous, more independent, even more adversarial to those in power compared to privately owned, say, commercial newspapers in the United States. They're also showing that the publics in these countries tend to be better informed and better engaged around particular issues compared to the publics of highly commercial systems.
What organizations today do you think are articulating an alternative vision for our media?
One group that I think you may have mentioned in passing, in full disclosure, I used to work for them, Free Press, is one of the leading, probably the leading media reform organization in the United States. Beyond Free Press, you've got Common Cause. The former FCC Commissioner Michael Copps has been very active with Common Cause and has been out there on these issues. Public Knowledge is another organization that's been very devoted to media reform issues. And then I will note that there's a lot of local media justice organizations out there.
Sure. Well, I can't thank you enough, Victor, for taking the time to speak with me today.
Thank you so much for having me on the show, Peter. I've really enjoyed it.
For Professor Victor Picard, I'm Peter Bermudez for Arlington Public News.
An Ottoson Middle School teacher is being nationally recognized for her work. Brandy Whitney is the recipient of the 2015 PASCO Award in Science, Technology, Engineering, and Mathematics, known as STEM. The PASCO Scientific Company, along with the National Science Teachers Association, hands out the award to one middle school teacher each year. In addition to the award, the PASCO Company is providing $5,000 in scientific school supplies to Ottoson. APN's own book club interviewed both Whitney and fellow Ottoson teacher Gary Blanchette about their collaborative teaching style and nonfiction book, Powers of Two.
Hi, this is James Milan. I am back. We are talking again about our APN Book Club selection of the month for this month, which is Powers of Two by Joshua Wolf Schenk. And I have with me in the studio two award-winning teachers from the Ottoson Middle School. On my far right is Brandy Whitney, and next to me is Gary Blanchette, who together make up this award-winning team. And by award-winning, I mean that they won the 2014 Mass Tech Middle School Technology and Engineering Program of the Year. We are here to talk about how it is that they bring their respective experiences together to form such a successful partnership. So how did this particular collaboration come about then?
Well, I've been at the Ottoson, this is my 6th year at the Ottoson. When I joined, we were in the process of turning the program into a more engineering-based model as opposed to the industrial arts model. There were 2 industrial arts teachers. One of them retired. We since replaced that individual on a couple of bases, and just this past year, last year, Brandy came on.
You have been at the Ottoson for just over a year. I guess this is your
my second year at the Ottoson.
Mm-hmm. And how is it that you decided again to present a joint curriculum?
When I came in, of course, as all people, you come in with your own ideas of how something is. I've been doing a similar program, had written curriculum where I came from, and met with Gary in the summer before I started. And he said, well, this is what we've been doing. And we started talking about it. And I said, well, you're my mentor. I'm going to follow this. And I looked at it, and it was quality stuff. And I said, we'll go with this program. Came on board, and it was aligned to the standards. And it's what the kids needed. So we had that same vision of what the kids get should be quality and be aligned to what they need to go on to succeed. Then changes came with the Arlington Educator Foundation, some funds were granted to us, and we said, well, we can kind of take our vision and go into some 21st century ways with it. I came with some robotics and some technology background. I wanted to sort of blend into what was there, but not by any means get rid of the wonderful baby in with the bathwater.
Joshua Wolfshank in this book lays out a number of different models for successful creative partnerships. How can you describe, or how would you describe, how you guys have reached a successful working relationship and what the components of that are?
Well, I would say that we took an existing curriculum that is I wouldn't say state mandated, but it's designed by the state. So the content that we have to teach is pretty much standard. We have the flexibility to create the manner in which we disseminate the information. So we'll come up with different project-based activities for the kids, where the goal in the end will be to teach the information that the state wants the children to know. So that's where the flexibility lies, is in the manner in which we teach the content in which we have to teach.
You bounce ideas off of each other and then you rein each other in at the same time?
I'm the one who comes in with the sometimes ridiculous, sometimes interesting. I'll say, how about we do 3D printing? And Gary would say, well, where does that fit? Where does that fit to the standards? How is it anything but just something cool? It has to be more than cool. It has to have substance. So I'll come out with ideas like, well, we could print wheels for the dragsters, which we already use, and then we could tie that into the standard. Gary's the implementer, I think. We'll come up with the ideas. We'll go back and forth, and he'll come up with the plan of the lesson, say, what do you think about this? And we sort of bounce it back and forth. We see things differently, but we have the same goal. As
we know, these guys have been very, very successful within their technology and engineering program at the Audison. We are grateful to have them, and we're grateful to have them here in the studio today. So for Brandy Whitney and Gary Blanchette, I'm James Milan. We thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next time.
After 8 is a series for the night owls in the community who are looking for things to do after dark. This week, APN visits Monotony Grill, a tavern on Massachusetts Avenue that is open every night until midnight. Owner Bill Lyons discusses the restaurant's menu, its live music, and the way the tavern honors Arlington's history.
Hi, welcome to After 8. I'm Sin, and I'm here at Monotony Grill checking out what there is to do around town after dark.
We at Monotony are lovers of history, and if you look 300 years ago, pre-government, that was where all the business took place, and that's where the governing bodies made decisions for their town and county and all that. Everything happened at a tavern. You would eat and drink there, but you would try to form businesses and early government. So we certainly take that spirit 300 years later and embrace it in our tavern.
There is much more to the restaurant Monotony Grill and its owner. Billy Lyons' love affair with Arlington goes way back.
I'm an Arlington native, and it's a historical story that I wanted to tell. As you can see, Monotony was settled in 1635, so that was the original name of the town, and we sort of got eliminated from the history books because of the name change to West Cambridge, and then of course it became Arlington. So very significant battles happened here in Monotony on that first day of the Revolutionary War, and I want to tell that story. So that's why Monotony. We're thrilled to be down at this end of the town. We're sort of become a little bit of the gateway to Arlington. We're always doing something, whether it's celebrating Fat Tuesday, Valentine's, or upcoming with St. Patrick's Day. We're always trying to, be in everybody's conscious. So those are some of the ways we do it. I always wanted music to be part of the culture here, and we started probably a year and a half ago, and it has really evolved. There are so many tremendously talented musicians in this immediate area, and we've been able to draw from just a wealth of musicians on any given Thursday. So it's really taken off. It's a great experience. It's not too loud. It starts at 9:30. We're still serving the full menu. And it's been very exciting. It's really evolved into sort of a go-to place on Thursdays. Well, we do blackboard specials every night, which allows both my chefs to kind of show their stuff in addition to the regular menu. And certainly there's some signature dishes on that regular menu. The first dish is the braised pork shank with sofrita. The second dish is the pan-seared plantain encrusted mahi-mahi, topped with vanilla-scented pineapple over scallion rice. The third dish from our smoker is the dry rub St. Louis ribs over a bed of Napa cabbage.
We had a sandwich, chicken, and I have steak tips. Awesome. Totally recommend it. Totally recommend it. What I liked the most was the authenticity of the music, and the authenticity of the restaurant is really cozy. So yeah, I like the music. I like the whole environment. It was really nice.
No, it's been wonderful, a wonderful addition to Arlington, and we're beer aficionados, and we love the beer choices here. And the food is always good, the specials are nice, and the music makes it just really a treat.
I think it's the best place because Arlington needed a place like this, and Billy Lyons had a vision, and he's making it happen, and everyone's happy about it.
Join me next time to discover another of Arlington's destinations open after dark. I'm Sin with Arlington Public News.
You know, Monotony Grill is the first such tavern to open in Arlington, and I remember that space as being, it used to be an auto dealership, and they've really done a great job with that space and making it into what it is today, which is a great place to hang out and have a nice drink and something to eat.
That's great, and it's also wonderful how they really tap into the history of Monotony as well with all the great signage there, so welcome to town.
Absolutely.
Are you daydreaming about springtime amidst the mounds of snow looming around town? In our next segment, news intern Julia Bloom searches for signs that spring is ahead.
It may still be winter in Arlington, but signs of spring are showing up all over town. They may be hard to spot with all the snow still on the ground, but they appear where you least expect them. Recently, the first robin of spring arrived along Massachusetts Avenue. Making his home in a bush, this bird came early to get a jump on the worms before everyone else gets them first. The snow is melting all around Arlington on a recent warm day. The nights have been cold, but the days are warming up, allowing the large snowdrifts to melt and people to get out and enjoy the fresh air. There are flowers all around town, including these in front of Angelina's Pastry. The owners have decided to bring spring to them by planting flowers in a snowbank. They may be fake, but they bring a smile to everyone who passes along. There are also flowers and plants in many storefronts in Arlington that serve to liven up the buildings and invite customers inside. These stores hold many displays reminding us that the spring holidays are just weeks away. And with all these signs that spring is coming soon, this hard winter can't end soon enough. For Arlington Public News, this is Julia Bloom.
And now our sports spotlight. News intern Nick Gaw interviews Arlington High's basketball coach John Bowler about his team's incredible 21-1 record in this year's regular season.
I am here today with Coach John Bowler from the Arlington High School boys basketball team, who had an incredible 21-1 record this season. Thank you for joining us today, John.
Oh, thank you for having me here.
So how long have you been a coach for the team?
This was my seventh year at Arlington High School, and before that I was an assistant coach at Salem State College for 4 years.
So with this 21-1 record, what does it take to get a team with this great of a season?
It's all about our players. We brought 10 guys back from last year's team, and we have 11 seniors overall. And it's just a great group of kids that believe in each other and believe in our system. And they practice hard every day. And when the lights come on for game time, they're ready to go.
So what does it take to really get your players motivated and ready for each game?
This year's a special year. Most of our players are all of them are all like self-motivated. Our practices are very intense because, if you don't bring it to practice, the other guys are gonna beat you up pretty hard because we go very very hard in practice, and so I think it just raises the level of play for the whole team.
So typically, how many times a week do you guys practice?
We usually, it's like 6 days a week, we have either practice or games, and with 1 day off. So it's usually like practice that are about 2 hours a day. And so during the season we have games Tuesday, Friday, so we'll have like three or four practices a week. And our practices are very hard. With 11 seniors, they've been through the system for 4 years, so they know what we're doing, and they compete hard every day.
So with all these seniors and veterans on your team, do you rely on them at all to help encourage the team during practice and games?
Yeah, we have. I rely on them a lot. We have four captains, and we have 10 guys back from last year. So if anyone has any problems with plays or anything in practice, we're like one family. The younger players, we'll go to them. Even the older players will get together and talk about different plays, or if they have any questions about what we're doing. So it's a very very easy group to coach.
Absolutely. Now, with you guys being the number 2 seed in the postseason, what are you looking forward to here in the playoffs?
Yeah, we're hoping for a long run. I think getting the 2 seed was big for us. It means if we'll play all home games till they become neutral site, which I think is big because we're 11-0 at home this year. So I think the whole season prepared us for this tournament. Every team in the tournament qualifies. So every team is a good team. So we'll have to just do what we've been doing all season and bring our A game.
Thank you for joining me today, John. On behalf of Arlington Public News, I am Nick Gaw.
Well, we congratulate the Arlington High School basketball team, and there's other teams that are doing well and have done well in Arlington with the high school wrestling team, as well as the Arlington High School girls basketball team in the tournament as well.
That's true, and if you like sports, stay right here. Watch it on APN. We're here to cover all the sports in Arlington. It's a great place to be this season for sports and throughout the year. Arlington Public News is a production of Arlington Community Media and functions as a gateway for local participation in issues and events of interest to the community.
Check out our latest segments on the web at news.acmi.tv and like us on Facebook. Join us next time for another edition of Arlington Public News. I'm Brenda Mahoney.
And I'm Paul Werlin. See you next time.